At this hour now, the jury in the Alex-Murdaugh double murder trial, they've been deliberating the case for about 2.5 hours as you see Murdaugh leaving the courtroom today. Before getting the case, though, the jury heard closing arguments from defense attorney Jim Griffin and prosecutor John Metters. Good evening and thanks for being with us now. I'm J.R. Berry.
And I'm Darcy Strickland. On this 28th day of the trial, we have been following the court proceedings all day in Colleton County. We start our team coverage with Andrea Mock, who is outside the courtroom at this hour. Andrea.
That's right, JR and Darcy. It has been a very busy day here this morning. Right off the bat, Judge Clifton Newman having to dismiss one of those jurors who has put in 6 weeks of her time because they found out that she was speaking in the community about the case. She had had at least 3 conversations, he said, and given an opinion. So she was out and an alternate was back in. That leaves us one alternate. That person is still sequestered inside the building behind me, the Colleton County Courthouse. But let's talk about closing arguments a little bit. Creighton Waters and John Metters both gave very compelling closing arguments for the prosecution. Creighton Waters focused in on those 4 minutes that was missing. 9:02 to 9:06 is when Alex Murdaugh's phone started moving once again. He called Alex Murdaugh a busy bee during that time, saying he walked 283 steps. He said that is when, my friends, he was cleaning up the murder scene. He also said it was very interesting that when Alex Murdaugh was on the stand, he asked Alex, "What were you doing in those 4 minutes?" And he said even though Alex had an incredible memory at sometimes recalling details, he had no memory of that. He also questioned both John Metters and Creighton Waters, questioned the fact that Alex said he doesn't remember the last conversations he had with Paul and Maggie when he was down at the kennels on June 7th. He said, "Wouldn't you remember that? Wouldn't you remember the last words you said to your wife and son before they were brutally murdered?" But Alex Murdaugh, when he was on the stand, was not able to remember those conversations. And then let's move on a little bit to Jim Griffin today. Jim Griffin jumped around a little bit, once again asking the jury to use common sense, just like the prosecution did. But he says the common sense should be that Alex had no reason to kill Maggie and Paul. He said there was plenty of testimony that he was a loving husband, a loving father. As a matter of fact, he played on the sympathies of the jury today, you guys, playing not 1 but 2 videos in court. He played the video of the man who took care of the dog kennels that said that Alex and Maggie were very lovey-dovey together. And then he also played the Murdaugh family housekeeper, Blanca, saying that Maggie was Alex's world. So really hoping to bring back the sympathy from the jury for what they're trying to portray as a loving husband and a loving father. That is not what the prosecution says, though. Creighton Waters coming out again saying he's the only person in this courtroom that had the motive, the means, the opportunity, and the guilty conduct after the crime. And let's talk